You know those names, right? Like
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
They're like at the top of their game.
Right.
But what really sets them apart? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Well, today, we're diving deep into some fascinating ideas about success
Okay.
based on this popular YouTube video,
Okay.
maybe even uncovering some of those secrets.
Sounds good.
So it all starts with this concept called Price's Law.
Yeah, basically it just states that the square root of any group is responsible for 50% of the results.
Okay, I'll admit on the surface that sounds kind of mathy.
Yeah.
So let's bring it to life.
Okay.
I'm all about real-world examples. What does this look like in action?
Okay, well, imagine you have like a tomato garden
Okay.
with 100 plants.
Mm-hmm.
Price's law suggests that only around 10 of those plants will produce half of your entire harvest.
So it's not just about the number of plants you have.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
about uh, something inherent in those specific 10 plants
Yeah.
that makes them outperform the rest.
Right, exactly. Now, you might be thinking, okay, cool, but I'm not running a tomato farm.
Yeah.
So how does this apply to me?
Yeah.
But this principle, it's not limited to tomatoes.
Okay.
This scales up dramatically across all sorts of fields.
So like if we're talking about a company with a sales team of like 10,000 people.
Exactly.
Okay.
Price's law suggests that just the square root of that number,
Mm-hmm.
roughly 100 salespeople,
Okay.
will be responsible for half of the company's sales.
Huh.
It's a consistent ratio regardless of the size of the group.
Hold on. Even with 10,000 salespeople, it still comes down to just a tiny fraction driving the majority of the result.
That's right.
That's wild. Okay, so how does this mathematical principle relate to actually, becoming one of those top performers?
That's where this message about mediocrity and excellence really comes in.
Okay.
The source argues that mediocrity scales exponentially, excellence scales incrementally.
So as the group gets bigger, the number of average performers explodes, but the number of superstars grows much more slowly.
Precisely.
Okay.
To stand out, you can't just be slightly better than the average.
Right.
You need to be significantly better.
Okay.
And the source suggests that comes down to paying the price of excellence.
I think we've all heard that phrase before, pay the price.
Right.
But what does it actually mean?
It means being willing to put in the work that most people aren't.
Okay.
The dedication, the focus, the willingness to push beyond your comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
to embrace challenges, to constantly be seeking improvement.
Yeah.
It's about developing that relentless drive to become better.
It makes me think about this point the source made about like being able to spot someone who has reps in their field.
Right.
There's just something about them, right? You
Yeah.
can sense their mastery.
Yeah, and that level of mastery doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It comes from consistent effort,
Mm-hmm.
from those reps, from intentional practice.
Okay.
Which brings us to another crucial point from the source, the idea of intention versus distraction.
So it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart,
Yes,
being deliberate with your time and energy, right?
exactly. The source defines intention as focusing on actions that directly move you closer to your goals.
Okay.
And conversely, distraction is anything that pulls you away from that path.
So let me ask you this. What are your biggest distractions?
Oh, wow.
Social media, procrastination, that never-ending to-do list.
We all have them.
Right.
And recognizing them is the first step towards becoming more intentional
Okay.
and taking control of our time and energy,
Mhm.
which, according to the source, is a hallmark of those top performers.
So how do we start making those shifts? How do we become more intentional and less distracted? I feel like that's something we all struggle with.
That's such a great question.
Yeah.
And it leads us to one of the most powerful ideas from this source.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. Hit me with this powerful idea.
The source puts it like this: existence is expiring.
Whoa. That's a little heavy. Should we be worried?
No, don't worry. It's not meant to be morbid or anything. It's actually a call to action.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Think of it this way. We all have like a finite amount of time on this planet.
Right.
Every second that ticks by is a second we can't get back.
Yeah.
Knowing that should motivate us to really make the most of each moment.
Yeah, it puts things in perspective, doesn't it? It's like a reminder not to waste time on things that don't truly matter.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that time is our most valuable resource and we shouldn't let it slip away.
So how do we actually APPLY this idea of existence is expiring to our own lives? How do we shift our mindset and start living with more purpose?
The source emphasizes that it starts by getting clear on your goals. What do you truly want to achieve?
Right.
Once you have that vision, you can break it down into smaller, actionable steps.
That's a crucial point, right? It's
Yeah.
so easy to get overwhelmed by the big picture that we get stuck and never even start.
It's like trying to climb a mountain without a map or any gear. You need to have a plan, a strategy, and the right tools to help you navigate the journey.
Okay, so we need to break down our goals into bite-sized pieces. But even then, it's still easy to get sidetracked. How do we stay focused and motivated along the way?
The source argues that successful people are masters of their intention. They know how to harness their focus and channel their energy towards their goals, and they're ruthlessly good at eliminating distractions.
Easier said than done, right? We all have those days where we feel pulled in a million directions. How do we become those masters of intention? What are some practical tips for staying on track?
One powerful strategy the source highlights is the importance of creating boundaries.
Okay.
This could mean setting aside dedicated time for focused work, silencing notifications, or learning to say no to commitments that drain your energy.
Those boundaries are so important. Especially in today's hyper-connected world, it's so easy to feel like we have to be available 24/7.
It's about protecting your time and energy like they're precious resources, because they are. And that's where intentionality comes in. It's about making conscious choices about how you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what you allow into your mental space.
Like creating a filter,
Right.
right? Only letting in the things that align with your goals and values.
Exactly. And when those distractions do creep in, and they inevitably will, it's about having strategies for dealing with them.
So what are some of those strategies?
The source talks about the importance of mindfulness, being aware of your thoughts and feelings without judgment, noticing when you're starting to get distracted, and then gently redirecting your focus back to the task at hand.
I love that. It's like training your mind to become more disciplined and focused.
It's like building a mental muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets.
This is all really resonating with me. But I have to be honest, sometimes that fear of failure just creeps in and paralyzes me. How do we overcome those internal distractions, the ones that come from our own self-doubt?
That's a great question. And it's something the source addresses directly. They talk about the importance of reframing failure as an opportunity for growth and learning.
So instead of thinking it's a setback, we can view it as valuable feedback.
Precisely. Every mistake, every challenge is a chance to learn to adjust course and to become even more resilient.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. It's about embracing the journey, knowing that there will be bumps along the way.
And remember, success isn't a destination, it's a process. It's about constantly striving to improve, to push your limits, and to become the best version of yourself.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of intention, setting boundaries, and reframing failure. But what about those external distractions, the ones that constantly bombard us from the outside world?
That's where it becomes crucial to cultivate what the source calls selective ignorance.
Ooh, selective ignorance. I like the sound of that. Tell me more.
It's about being very intentional about what information you consume, who you surround yourself with, and what you allow to influence your thoughts and actions.
It's like creating a protective bubble around yourself, right? Filtering out the noise and negativity that can drag you down.
Exactly. It's about choosing to focus on the things that empower you, that inspire you, and that help you move closer to your goals.
This is all so incredibly valuable. I'm starting to see how these concepts, these principles, can really make a difference in our ability to achieve success. It's not just about working harder, it's about working smarter and more intentionally.
And remember, it's not about becoming a Michael Jordan or an Elon Musk. It's about becoming the best version of you.
I love that.
Hmm.
So with all of this in mind, how do we start putting these ideas into practice? How do we move from theory to action?
The source emphasizes that it starts with small, consistent steps. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Instead, focus on making one small change at a time.
So it's about building momentum, right? Creating positive habits that will eventually lead to lasting transformation.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment and find what works best for you.
This is all incredibly insightful. I feel like I'm walking away from this deep dive with a whole new toolkit for success.
It's been a pleasure exploring these concepts with you. The source also highlighted something really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me. What did the source have to say?
Well, they offered a really fascinating perspective on Price's law.
Okay.
They pointed out that while it's a powerful tool for understanding performance dynamics, it can also be incredibly motivating.
Motivating how? I'm all about that inspiration boost.
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
If you're striving to be in that top square root of performers,
Right.
you're not just competing against everyone else in the field.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually competing against a much smaller subset of like highly driven individuals.
So it's almost like a self-selecting group, right?
Exactly.
The people who are truly committed to excellence
Yeah.
naturally rise to the top.
Exactly. And knowing that can be incredibly empowering. It means that you don't have to be like perfect or even the absolute best to make a significant impact.
Okay.
You just need to be better than the majority.
That's a great point.
Mhm.
It's not about comparing yourself to like some unattainable ideal.
Right.
It's about focusing on your own growth and striving to be better than you were yesterday.
Exactly.
I like that.
And remember, this principle applies to all areas of life,
Okay.
not just professional pursuits. It could be your hobbies, your relationships, your personal development, whatever you're passionate about.
Okay. I'm already feeling that fire reignited. But I have to admit, sometimes it's hard to stay motivated,
Yeah,
especially when those inevitable setbacks come along.
sure.
How do we maintain that momentum, that drive to keep pushing forward, even when things get tough?
The source actually offers a really interesting solution for that.
Okay.
They talk about the importance of cultivating a growth mindset.
Growth mindset. Okay, I've heard that phrase before, but refresh my memory. What does it really mean?
It's about believing that your abilities and intelligence aren't fixed traits, but rather qualities that can be developed through effort and learning.
So instead of seeing challenges as proof of our limitations,
Right.
we view them as opportunities to, like, grow and expand our capabilities.
Precisely. And the source argues that this mindset shift is crucial for achieving lasting success.
Okay.
Because let's face it, there will always be obstacles, setbacks, and moments of self-doubt along the way.
That's so true. If we let those challenges define us, we'll never reach our full potential.
Yeah.
So how do we start cultivating this growth mindset?
Right?
It sounds great in theory, but what does it look like in practice?
The source suggests a few really practical strategies.
Right.
One is to embrace feedback, even when it's critical.
Yeah.
Instead of getting defensive, view it as an opportunity to identify areas for improvement.
It's about being open to learning, right?
Yes.
Recognizing that we don't have all the answers and that there's always room for growth.
Exactly. Another strategy is to surround yourself with people who support your growth and challenge you to be better.
Okay.
This could be mentors, colleagues, friends who inspire you and believe in your potential.
That's so important. The people we spend our time with have a huge impact on our mindset and our beliefs.
For sure.
If you're surrounded by negativity and self-doubt, it's going to be a lot harder to maintain that growth mindset.
Absolutely. And finally, the source emphasizes the importance of celebrating your successes, even the small ones.
Okay.
This helps to reinforce that growth mindset
Yeah.
and reminds you that you're capable of achieving great things.
Okay, this has been so insightful. I feel like I'm walking away from this deep dive with a whole new toolkit for success.
Awesome.
But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing.
Sure.
The source kept coming back to this idea of existence is expiring as a motivator.
Right.
But I think for some people that can feel kind of daunting.
Yeah.
Like, how do we balance that sense of urgency with actually enjoying the journey?
That's a great question. And I think the source would agree that finding that balance is crucial. It's not about living in a constant state of stress or fear.
Right.
It's about recognizing the preciousness of time and using that awareness to fuel your passions and make choices that align with your values.
It's about living with intention,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Making each moment count.
Exactly. And that's what this whole deep dive has been about. It's about understanding the principles that drive success, both in the world at large and in our own lives, and then using that knowledge to make conscious choices that lead to greater fulfillment and purpose.
I feel so inspired right now. It's like we've been given this amazing toolkit.
Yeah.
And now it's up to us to go out and build something incredible with it. So, to all our listeners out there, what are you going to do with this information?
That's right.
What one small step can you take today to start living with more intention, more purpose, and more joy?
Yeah. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Keep diving deep.